you know by now that you're dealing with a narcissist, you're in this relationship with a narcissist, and you're thinking, how the heck do I get out of this relationship? How do I end it? How do I move forward? So I hear from people all day long, thousands of you from all over the world who have asked me, how do I get out of these relationships? What do I do next? I'm scared. You know, this person has set up this situation where they're in control, and they have you feeling and believing and in a situation where you think, if I ever try to leave this person, it's going to be pure hell. Let me tell you, it is. I can't sugarcoat that. And if I sat here and told you it's not going to be hell to get out of it, then I would be lying to you, and that's not what I do here. So, but what I can tell you is that I've helped many, many people get through this and get to the other side, and it is better, and you can move on, and it is a better life on the other side, despite what they may say. They may even say to you, you know, you'll be nothing without them. That's not true. So that's what I'm doing here on this channel and with the work that I do, and I promise you it will get better on the other side of this crazy thing. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, remember that you're dealing with a personality type that has no inner sense of value. They have to derive all of their value from the external in the form of what we call narcissistic supply. And if you want to know more about narcissistic supply, check out my Narcissism 101 video called Narcissistic Supply so that you can understand more of what it is. But basically, it's anything that feeds a narcissist's ego. And if they see that supply source walking out the door, then they're going to go crazy. It's sort of like a 2-year-old who's having a tantrum. If the 2-year-old wants to get something from the parents, they may fall to the floor, they may cry, they may scream, they may rage, they may throw things, they may do all these things. And what the 2-year-old is doing is basically testing the parents and conditioning them to see, you know, if I scream and if I do these things, are you going to give me what I want? And if the parents give into that child, then they know for next time, all I have to do is scream louder, scream longer, scream harder, throw things, completely embarrass them, make their lives miserable, and they'll just give in. So that's what you're going to start seeing with this narcissist. You're going to see where you actually trigger that narcissistic rage is going to come out, and things will probably get worse before they get better. But narcissists are always the worst right before they're ready to give up. So never forget that. Okay, so when you go to end this relationship, you have to be extremely careful, extremely purposeful, and deliberate, and have a plan of action when you go to end the relationship that will actually make sure that you do the things that you need to do to get where you need to go. Number one, don't give them one more chance. Not verbally, not internally. They've had their chance. You've given them the options over and over and over again on how to correct their behavior. They can't, they won't, and don't give them one more chance. Just decide and move on. Number two, when you decide to leave them, don't tell them, don't share it with them, just move on. You're going to create your plan for getting out, and you're not going to share any of it with them. Don't say, I'm leaving you, I'm getting ready to leave you, nothing like that. Just create the plan and then execute on it. They will do everything they can to make this a living hell for you, and they may even try to thwart your efforts to leave. So they may try to foil your plans, they may try to love bomb you, guilt you, play the victim, all of these different things. And if it's already been a hard decision for you to come to, then you could get sucked back into that. So don't tell them about your plan. The other thing that they might try to do is intimidate you, devalue you, cause fear inside of you. If you leave, this is what's going to happen. Or they may just decide that they're going to discard you first, beat you to it, make it worse for you. something like that. So do not tell them that you are leaving. Number 3 is make a copy of all of the important documents that you're going to need, financial or otherwise. It's really important if you can to make a copy or take a picture of these documents, because if you take the documents and they find out that you took them, then that'll be something that they can use against you. Oh, she took everything out of the home, and they'll turn it into something much bigger and much worse. They stole money, blah, blah, blah. You know, so just make sure that you have copies or take pictures of the documents that you're going to need, financials such as tax returns and bank statements, credit card statements, deeds, any prenuptial agreements, things of that nature. Number 4, I talk about this in my other videos. You know, before you leave a narcissist, watch this is one of them. But one of the things you're going to want to do is have a stash of cash. You're going to want to have at least 3 months worth, so that your lawyer will have an opportunity to set a hearing and get you temporary support if you are the non-moneyed spouse. And you're also going to want to have enough to hire a lawyer. Number 4 is, if you are in an abusive situation, report what has happened to you. Report it to your therapist, report it to your clergyman, report it to the police, whoever you need to, especially if it's been physical abuse or sexual abuse or anything like that. You can always go to a domestic violence shelter as well, but don't be silent about it. There are resources out there for you, and we will actually drop a link and the phone number to the domestic violence hotline, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, so that you can call that if you feel that your life is in danger. Number 5 is change your passwords and log out of all of your devices before you leave anywhere. And make sure that you've logged out of all of the clouds as well. I've had clients who've had that situation where they didn't realize that the iPad that was left at home was connected to the cloud, and now the spouse was reading all of their emails and seeing all of their text messages and things like that. So change your passwords on all of your devices, and including passwords to social media accounts and things like that. And also, you know, block them, get them off of your social media. And they're flying monkeys as well. Think about their minions as well. So making sure that you also have a secure email. That is how you and your attorney are going to be communicating with each other. So you need to have a secure email to be able to do that. Number 7 is check your devices for trackers, or your vehicles for trackers. Make sure that nothing has been put onto your car, especially if you're dealing with a malignant narcissist. If you want to know more about malignant narcissists, they are the most dangerous form of narcissist. Check out my video on a malignant narcissist, but they do have a tendency to track the people that they're dealing with. They stalk them. They have a proclivity for stalking. So make sure to check your vehicle for any tracking devices. Number 8 is don't give in to their flattery or their love bombing. They may start to do the things that they did to get you into their web of control in the first place, like love bombing you. And if you want to know more about love bombing, check out my video on love bombing. But they may start doing that. Don't listen to it. Close your ears. It's a trick. It's a way to kind of suck you back in. Sometimes it's called hoovering. And it's really just a manipulation method to get you back into their web of control. Number 9 is reconnect with family and friends. You are going to need a support system as you go through this. So reconnect with the people that mean the most to you, who love you, who will believe you, who will support you. And also, you know, seek out therapists, seek out somebody that you can talk to about this, who's a neutral third party, maybe even a clergyman or somebody at your church or synagogue or something like that, so that you will have a support system in place as you go through this. Number 10, similarly, The opposite side of this is disconnect from anybody who's toxic, anybody who's not going to be helpful, anybody who's not going to be on your side, who's going to judge you or make you feel worse or make you feel like a failure. You don't need that in your life. Number 11 is stay away upon leaving. Once you have left, stay away. Don't fall prey to going back or even just to have a conversation or anything like that. Just, stay firm in your decision and stay strong in your decision once you've made that decision. Next is learn about narcissism. Use the resources that are out there, including this channel, including the other channels that are out there on YouTube, which have amazing resources. Dr. Ramani has great resources, and she's a psychologist. There are several others out there like her, Melanie Tanya Evans, Tracy Malone, who of Narcissist Abuse Support. There are lots of us out there that are providing resources around narcissism. Kim Saeed is another one. And I've actually partnered with all of these people in various times, and we've done videos together. And the reason why we do these videos together is because we each bring different perspective, more information. And at this time, you really want to learn about what it is that you need to do. Here on my channel, I teach you about narcissists because it's really important for you to understand the pathology of narcissism and the psychology of narcissism just enough to know what you need to do to negotiate with them and get out of this relationship with them in a way that leaves you as unscathed as possible and helps you come to a fair resolution. And if you are so ready to delete that toxicity and move forward with your life, give me an "I'm ready" in the comments. The next thing that you can do is go easy on yourself. Go slowly. Forgive yourself. You did what you did, and you made the decisions that you made in the moment. And remember that these people are master manipulators. They've been manipulating their whole entire lives. Don't beat yourself up over the fact that you were in that relationship. It happened. You learned from it, you're moving on now, and that's the most important thing, so forgive yourself. I also do have a video on self-care to cope with a narcissist, and you might want to check that one out as well. But the most important thing is that take care of yourself, go easy on yourself, go slowly, it's okay. And don't even beat yourself up over if you end up doing some of these things I'm saying not to do, if you end up talking to the person, it's okay. Just forgive yourself. Understand that you're going to be going through the stages of grief. This is the end of a relationship. This is the end of a dream. It's the end of what you thought was happening. It's the end of what you thought your future was going to be. So you will be going through those 5 stages of grief, and you will eventually heal. You will eventually get to the other side, and it will be better.
Okay, so let's talk covert narcissists. What's the difference between them and a regular narcissist? So they are every bit 100% narcissists. They are the same fragile little ego inside, the same super insecure person that's deep inside there, but they look a little bit different because they're not in your face the way regular overt narcissists are. They come across as a little bit more passive, a little bit more quiet, so that on the surface, you don't actually even notice that they're narcissists at all in the beginning. As a typical narcissist, you think is the person who is telling everybody how great they are all the time. The covert narcissist does not do that. However, because they don't do that, and because you can't see it right off the bat on the surface, they're actually way more insidious and way more toxic than overt narcissists are. Okay, so another trait of a covert narcissist is that they come across as shy and actually even reserved. They actually probably are prone to bouts of depression. They may even tell you that they have bouts of depression. So, on the surface, they're going to seem to be like maybe they're just nice people. Maybe they might just be more fragile, something like that, because being a victim is very much part of the covert narcissist plan to get people into their lair. Okay, the third thing that you'll see with covert narcissists is they seem to be helpful in the beginning. So they'll actually lure you in with things that they know that you want so that they can appear to be super helpful, but they really just want to use you. So as once you're into their lair, then they start with the passive aggressive. They start to drip on you like the Chinese water torture. I'm half Chinese, I could say that, in your on your forehead kind of a thing. Like, and you start to think, am I crazy? You know, because the rest of the world sees this person as being so nice, but you kind of know that something is not right. They're doing all these little things behind your back, and they're very, very good at disguising it in such a way that if you tell somebody about it, the person's going to go, well, that doesn't sound so bad. But you know that it's like this drip, drip, drip thing that they're doing to try to make you crazy. They lure you in with, I'm going to help you with this. And then they start with passive aggressive little things to try to make you crazy. Okay, and the next trait of a covert narcissist is that they often like to play the victim, or maybe they're very sickly, or they often have health issues or something like that, because they constantly need to be the center of attention. So they come up with ways that they can constantly be the center of attention. And then the last thing is that they will not have any sense of empathy for another person. They can feign empathy, but and they know when they have to apologize, just to apologize for the surface, but they really don't actually have any empathy for the other person, because they actually are narcissists, and narcissists don't feel anything for anybody but themselves. If this is sounding all too familiar, give me a for sure in the comments. Okay, so this is all well and good, but if you have a covert narcissist in your life, what can you do about it? So the first thing that you can do about it is not to react, especially if you know that this covert narcissist is trying to get under your skin or trying to manipulate you in some way, or they're saying something to try to get a rise out of you. You just say, good for you, or that's great. Don't react, because that's exactly what they want you to do. The second thing that you could do is, if the timing seems right, call them out on their behavior, but do it in a very subtle way. You sort of play their game. Oh, I'm surprised to see that you're here today. You said you were sick yesterday. Something like that. But you say it without emotion. You don't say it with smugness. You just say it so that they subtly know that you're calling them out on their behavior, but you are not bothered by it. They're not getting a rise out of you. You're just noticing it. So the third thing that you can do is, do not, and I repeat, do not let them know that they are getting to you. You do not show any emotion. You do not show that anything that they're doing has manipulated you in any way, because that is exactly what they want. And if they get that, then they're going to do more of it. So this is a subtle way to start shutting down this behavior. It's kind of like a behavior modification program for narcissists. You don't give them what they want. So don't react, because if you do, then that's what they want. Okay, the fourth thing that you can do is kind of similar to the others, but this is specific to gaslighting, because this is something that narcissists will do often, and especially covert narcissists too. They're going to try to gaslight you. So they try to make you think that you're crazy. So years ago, there was a movie, I think it was actually called Gaslight or something, and this husband was actually abusing the wife through trying to make her seem like she was crazy, and he would blow out these gas lights, and then she would say, wasn't that just lit? And he would say, no, it wasn't. And that's what gaslighting is. You know, it's just like the subtle little thing to try to make you think that you're crazy. So basically it's like, we talked about that. You said that it was okay. Oh, we had a conversation. I'm sorry, there was a misunderstanding on your part, and you know that there was no misunderstanding, or maybe that there was no conversation ever at all. So don't let them gaslight you that way. Just say, no, there was never that conversation. No, we didn't have that conversation. Or no, there was no misunderstanding. This is what we talked about. Something like that. Remain firm. Don't allow them to manipulate you into thinking that you're crazy. Okay, number 5 is keep your barriers really strong. One of the things that narcissists do, because they've got this mantra that I will not be ignored, is they don't respect boundaries. So they'll come right into your room, they'll read your mail, they will go places that they're not supposed to be or whatever, and they act like, oh, here I am bringing you something nice, I'm doing something nice for you. So I'm not respecting your boundaries, but you're going to forgive me because I'm being nice about it, something like that. Don't allow them to not respect your boundaries. Have super strong barriers, super strong barriers. That's the only way you're going to be able to manage their behavior and also keep your own sanity. And the other thing that you can do is to slowly close down the barriers of communication. And what I mean by this is, if you have a narcissist in your life, or a covert narcissist, if the most thing that you can do for yourself is get them out of your life. Okay. And I've recently had to do that with people in my business arena, and because I've had some covert narcissists in my life in the business arena, and I've had to deal with that, and it was extremely difficult, and it's painful because it's sort of a betrayal in a lot of ways, right? But you just have to understand and have compassion for the fact that they're broken people, and that they have deep insecurities and problems, but that doesn't mean they have to be in your space. So if I were you, I would try to slowly shut down those barriers of communication and slowly start to wean them out of your space if you can. What are the types of insults that you hear in a narcissistic relationship? All right, so I'm going to give you a whole bunch of them, and I'm going to save the best one till the end. I'm going to give you 9 of them. So number one is, who else would love you the way that I would? Or who else would want you? And it's so backhanded. They tell you they love you, and they start off with love bombing, and they start off with how wonderful you are and how amazing you are, and you're so gorgeous and handsome or sexy or fantastic. Even in a business relationship, because I was in a business relationship with a narcissist, and they start off where you're just the most charming, sexy, amazing, wonderful, blah, 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 blah. And then they start insulting you. They start devaluing you. They start saying no one else thinks that you're amazing. Nobody else would love you the way I would. Who else would want you? So they start isolating you in that way. So that's number one. It's sort of backhanded thing. It's I love you, but no one else would. All right. So that's number one. Number 2 is, don't say anything to embarrass me. So you're walking into a party, you're walking into a function, and you're all happy, you're fine, life is good. And then all of a sudden they say this thing don't say anything to embarrass me. Why would I say anything to embarrass you? Maybe they think you're stupid. Maybe they think that you don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, they say, don't say anything to embarrass me. So now you're worried about what it is that's going to come out of your mouth, because you're afraid that you're going to say something to embarrass them. Maybe you're going to a work function with them or something like that, and you're worried that you're going to say something that might embarrass them. So that's number 2. Number 3 is, they'll say, you have no idea what you're talking about. Or they might just out and out, just flat out say that you're stupid, or that you're an idiot. They either will say that you have no idea what you're talking about, or that you're just flat out stupid. And so that's the next one. And then the next one is that you're just worthless. They'll say this in a number of different ways, that you're just terrible with money, or that you're a terrible driver, or that you're just worthless when it comes to doing something, or that you're horrible at cleaning. They'll tell you that you're worthless
but they may not come right out and say it in that specific way. But in so many ways, you get this sense that they think that you're worthless. So that's number 4. Similarly, I have a video on the narcissist favorite catchphrases, which you could definitely check out. And, that's another one of my videos. And I do want you to put a mantra in the comments below, which is, I will not listen to their lies, because this is all a bunch of lies. And I want you to understand that this is just a bunch of their projection and deflection. They are projecting their own sense of no self-worth onto you. They are very empty inside, and people treat other people the way they feel about themselves. Hurt people hurt people. They have no sense of self. They have no sense of self-worth. And so they are projecting this bunch of crap onto you. And so I do want you to understand that the reason why they are emotionally abusive, which is what this is because they are hurting inside. So don't take this on. All right. So we're only halfway through, but I do want to stop and just say this, because don't take this on. This has nothing to do with you. This only has to do with them. All right. So number 5 is that other person is more attractive, thinner, smarter, younger looking, whatever. I mean, so they'll compare you to somebody else and make you feel like less because that other person looks better than you in some way. All right. They'll just make a comment about how you look less good than somebody else. So that's number 5. Number 6 is something about your family. They'll say, your family is stupid, your family is trash, your family is messed up in some way, your family is bipolar, your family has issues, your family is dysfunctional, uneducated, horrible, whatever, a bunch of degenerates, losers. They'll say things about your family because a lot of times they were trying to actually isolate you from your family. So they'll say things about your family. Maybe they'll call your family a bunch of narcissists. Your family hates you. Your family is awful, that sort of thing. So that's the next one. Number 7 is, I never loved you. I never loved you. I never cared about you. I was just using you. That's a really hurtful one now, isn't it? I mean, the truth of the matter is they don't have the ability to even love themselves. So again, you can't take this stuff personally. It's so hurtful. I mean, they can be so hurtful. And they may even say something like, I was never attracted to you. I never wanted you. They can be so awful, but they may say something like that too. Number 8, they may say something like, if you had shown me enough attention sexually, if you had shown me enough care, love, whatever, then I wouldn't have cheated on you. In other words, I cheated on you because you made me, because you didn't give me enough sex, because you didn't give me enough physical attention, something like that. And they blame you for the fact that they went out and cheated. Definitely seen this a lot as a divorce attorney. Just don't allow them to put that on you. And the other one that's actually very similar to this is that you caused me to be an addict. Your behavior caused me to become a drug addict, an alcoholic, or something like that. Don't allow them to put that on you. And the last one is your career is a joke. You don't make enough money. You are inadequate. You're a horrible provider, all that sort of thing. And this is especially horrible for men, by the way. It's a much worse insult for men. I've definitely seen that. It definitely can erode at the marriage. And, when you're not respected in the relationship. It's horrible. And I always say there's a 3 A's that erode at the marriage: abuse, addiction, and adultery. And when you have even one of these, then you can't stay married to a person usually, because it just erodes away at the foundation of a relationship. And abuse, even if it's emotional abuse, is abuse. And when you're married to a narcissist, it's constant abuse.
So let's talk about future faking. So, you know, the word integrity, doing what you say you're going to do, well, that doesn't really apply to narcissists. And in fact, if you keep allowing narcissists to continue to promise you the world, and then you realize it's not materializing, you're actually enabling their behavior, which of course is not something that we necessarily want to do, because we want to maybe hopefully get out of these relationships with these narcissists. So what happens with narcissists is part of the love bombing process, which is how they get you into these relationships in the first place, is just kind of promising you the world. You know, the whole concept of overpromise or underdeliver, or under promise and over deliver, you know, that you're supposed to do in sales. They kind of do the over promise and under deliver. That's basically what future faking is. It's, they say whatever they need to about what your future might be in order to get you to do what they want you to do, or get you to get off of what it is that you're bothering them about. Or even in the beginning of the relationship, when they're in the love bomb stage, which they do love bomb all throughout the relationship when they need to, by the way. And if you want to know more about love bombing, you should definitely check out my video on love bombing. But you know, one of the 101 conversation, you know, the glossary of basic narcissistic terms is that you need to know about is what we call this future faking. And I have a whole bunch more videos on the 101s, basic terms on narcissism, and you should definitely check out some of those as well, especially, you know, gaslighting and flying monkeys and narcissistic injury and supply and things like that. And all of those videos are also on my channel. So, but what happens with narcissists is they want you to do what they want you to do, which is give them an endless amount of narcissistic supply. So narcissistic supply is anything that feeds their ego. So it can be giving them tons of compliments and adulation and respect, or maybe it's giving them money, or maybe it's giving them a place to live, or maybe it's, you know, giving them the prestige of being with you, or allowing you them a life that they want, something like that. But they also get supply from, you know, manipulating you and lying to you, and getting you to do things that they want you to do, and devaluing you and putting you down, and making you know that, you know, that you are lesser to them, you know, just even in little small ways sometimes, like not remembering to do something that you asked them to do, or something like that. But with future faking is a way of getting you to believe that, okay, even though you're not getting what you want from them now, that you will get it from them at some other time. So down the road, you're going to have this amazing life together, or starting now, they're going to be so much better. You know, I was just talking to a client whose husband was, you know, looking at other women online and doing all of these things, and she almost left him. And he said, I will never, never, never do that again. In fact, I will get rid of all my social media pages. I'll do whatever I need to do in order to keep you, in order for you to stay with me. Don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. And so all this future promise of how life would look. And then they stick to it for a little bit of a period of time, but then they really can't maintain that, because they really didn't plan to keep their promise anyway. So they stick to it for a little bit of a period of time, and then, of course, they fall off the map and they don't end up continuing with whatever it was they said they were going to do. And in this particular case, that husband, of course, continued to maintain relationships with women online because he just thought that he would be able to get away with it. Because, you know, the reason why he continues to do that is because of that whoring that they need to do of getting as much narcissistic supply as they possibly can. So he didn't really plan to ever get rid of these other women online. He just wanted to future fake it with the wife to say, I will do this, and in the future things will be better, and look, I'm going to be the person that you always wanted me to be, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just empty promises, empty promises. That's basically what future faking is a bunch of empty promises. And if this is sounding familiar to you, give me an amen in the comments. So how do you know if you're enabling future faking? It's by making excuses for this person. And sometimes we do that in order to kind of protect ourselves because we don't want to believe that this person is bad. And so sometimes we'll find ourselves making excuses. Like, let's say somebody said that they're going to start coming home on time. You know, that this person is always late, and they said, okay, from now on, I'm going to start coming home on time. And so now they start saying things like, you know, I can't make it. I have to work late. Traffic is bad. I have a big project going on. And so you find yourself kind of making excuses for that person, like, well, they have a lot of work commitments, or, well, reliability isn't really their strong suit, or punctuality isn't really their strong suit. It never really has been. And so you start making excuses for that person. Another type of way that we sort of enable it is by saying something like, I know his or her heart is in the right place. And you know, a lot of times we do this really because we don't want to believe that this person that we've been with or spent so much time with it can be bad, you know, and a lot of times it's not all bad. I mean, that's the thing with narcissists, because of the love bomb stage, sometimes things are actually not all bad. Sometimes they seem like they can be really good, and we spend like the entire relationship craving, wanting that goodness to come back, wanting to see that good part of that person. And so sometimes we make excuses by saying, hey, I know that the person's heart is in the right place, even though they're not doing what they say they're going to do. Another way that we enable it is to just say, you know what, I've just decided I'm going to live with that. I know that they're never going to do what they say they're going to do, so I just assume that I'm going to be responsible. So let's just say that this person says, you know, I know you've been shouldering a lot of the housework. I know we both work all the time, and you do everything at home. I'll take on doing the laundry. And maybe the person does the laundry for like a week or two, and then, you know, there it is, the laundry's piling up. So instead of wanting to start an argument, you find yourself saying, you know what, I'll just go ahead and do it. I'll just assume that, you know, it's all my responsibility. And if the other person decides to do it, well, that's a bonus, but I'm not going to expect it. I just expect that they're not going to keep their word. That also enables the narcissist. The other thing that enables it is just not bringing it up at all, not reminding them what their promise was. And a lot of times when you're dealing with a narcissist, you don't want to remind them what their promise was, because if you do, it can end up being a big, huge fight. And if you know that that's the case, then you're probably with a narcissist, because, you know, a person who's not a narcissist, who wants a relationship to work, who actually has care and empathy for the other person, would be like, oh my God, you're right. I'm so sorry. I said that I would do that and I didn't do that. That's what a person who has integrity would do. But a narcissist wants to deflect. They want to project. They want to make sure that it's your fault. You know, if you are afraid to bring it up because you know that they're going to say, you're right, I didn't do that, it's because it's your fault. I'm sorry you didn't do what you said you were going to do. You know, that whole faux apology. If you want to know more about narcissists,
faux apology and whether or not they say sorry, check out my video on do narcissists say sorry? And if they do they mean it? But a lot of times that's what you're going to get. And so if you find yourself just not bringing it up at all, it's probably because you just don't want the backlash of whatever that's going to be. So, they future faked, they said they were going to do something, they didn't do it, and you just find yourself saying, and you know what, I'm not going to bring it up. It's not even worth it. So if you find yourself harboring a ton of resentment, because who harbors more resentment about the future faking that didn't happen? Do you think it's the narcissist, or do you think it's the person who was the victim of the narcissist? I guarantee you it's the person who's been the victim, because you just sit there and you go, okay, well, this person is not delivering on their promises. They're not keeping their promises to me. Either I bring it up and I deal with the wrath, or I don't bring it up and then I still end up not getting what it is that I wanted. And so you end up carrying this sadness and this resentment, and it actually turns into feeling terrible about yourself and feeling guilty that you want something because that's what they want you to feel. Or you end up having like no self-esteem or no sense of self, and you end up feeling like you're just a shell of yourself because of these empty promises that just keep not materializing. Because obviously you start to think, I guess I'm just not worth having these promises be delivered on. I guess I'm not worth this person doing what they say they're going to do, where it's actually the opposite. The other person just has no sense of self and no sense of self-worth and no sense of value. So they try to put everybody down and make it look like that they're better than everybody else. And so it's the great game of manipulation. It's just one form of manipulation that they use to get people to do what they want them to do. So in the end, future faking is really a classic sign of narcissism. And if you are seeing this, then you are probably in a relationship with a narcissist, unfortunately.
It's no secret that narcissists are pathological liars and that they're gaslighting all the time. And why do they do that? Because they have no sense of self. They don't feel any internal sense of value. So they have to suck all their value from the people and environment around them. And they do that by pathologically lying and doing things that they need to do in order to control people. And, they have all kinds of favorite control tactics and manipulation tactics. And if you want to know what their favorite manipulation and punishment tactics are, check out my video on the narcissist's favorite manipulation and punishment tactics. But there are many, too many to really encompass all in one video, which is why I have an entire channel devoted to this particular topic, which also is devoted to help give you step-by-step guidance on how to get out of these relationships. I've seen it so much in my law practice. I've had to deal with them in my personal life. They get narcissistic supply by anything that feeds their ego, which, could be anything that feeds anybody's ego, like compliments and respect and things like that. But most often where they get their supply is by the things that they do, by lying, manipulating, intimidating, making people feel afraid, gaslighting, smear campaigns, all of those things that they do. And lying is one of the things that they do because they don't want you to see what you think you're seeing, which is that this person is a liar, that this person is not who they say they are. So it's this constant game of smoke and mirrors to try to get you to not see what they don't want you to see, which is that inside they're a scared little creature that has no sense of self, that you are actually the stronger one. You are actually the one that has more power, that has more value from their perspective. I mean, All human beings have value, inherent value, but they don't feel it, and so they don't want you to feel it either. They are extremely petty, and they live in a world of scarcity, not abundance. And so lying is a way of life for them. Now, honestly, they lie about things that they don't even need to lie about, which is kind of crazy to me. And they also lie about things that are very easily verifiable sometimes. And then they tell you that you're not seeing what you're seeing, which is what gaslighting is. There are certain types of lies that they specifically say to you throughout your relationship. So these are kind of like the most common. I'm sure that there's a lot of others, but these are the most common. So the first one is, ironically and paradoxically, no one is more truthful than me. You're going to never find anyone who's more truthful, more honest, has more integrity than me. I always tell the truth. I always tell it like I see it. And they say it with such confidence that you believe them, at least early on. My dad used to say, whatever you say it with authority and people will believe you. And narcissists have taken that to an extreme. So they say things even though, you know, you see their lips moving and you know that you've seen a text message or you've had a situation where you know that they're lying. You know that they're lying. Even if you specifically say, here's an email where you said this, it's very clear that you're lying. They'll say, no, that's not true. That's not how it went. That's not what's happening, which is a form of gaslighting, by the way. But the first thing that they will say is, no one is more truthful than I am. The second thing that they say is some form of, I love you, I care about you, I'm here for you. And if you want to know more about what a narcissist means when they say, I love you, and what they don't mean when they say, I love you, check out my video on what does a narcissist mean when they say, I love you. When they are saying, I love you, I care about you, I'm here for you, it's not that that's what they actually feel, because true narcissists have no ability, no capacity to feel anything for anyone else. They just lack that synapse. It's like missing from their makeup, from their brain. It's just broken and it can't be fixed. They cannot truly love another person. They cannot truly care about another person. And they certainly don't want to be there for anybody else. They only want what they can get out of you. And so they will say these things sometimes to get you to do what they want you to do, or think what they want you to think, or get off of whatever it is that you're on them about, just to, you know, say what they need to say. Sometimes it's a form of future faking. And if you want to know more about future faking, you should definitely check out my video on that. But, you know, they don't really love you. They're not really there for you, and they don't care about you. And you can tell that because their actions speak louder than words. You know, try getting sick and expecting a narcissist to actually care about you and be there for you. I mean, if you're lucky, they just don't feel anything. Most of the time, what they really do is they resent you. They resent the fact that you might want care or attention or something from them, because that means that you're not paying attention to them. And there's not enough to go around in their world, you know, like they're very scarcity minded. So if you want something, that means they can't have it. The second thing is, I love you, I care about you, I'm there for you. The third one is, I'm sorry, or things will be different. And, you know, I call it narcissist faux apologies. And if you want to know more about, you know, what a faux apology is, check out my video on what a narcissist really is doing when they say, I'm sorry. But most of the time, narcissists really don't even say sorry. But if they do, it's definitely to manipulate you, to try to get something out of you. It might just be lip service, and because it's in front of somebody and they want the person, the third party to see it. It may be just to shut you up. It may be kind of even more like a sarcastic apology. I'm sorry that I couldn't be better for you, or something like that, but they really don't mean it. There's never any real remorse for their actions. So when they say I'm sorry, it's definitely a lie, unfortunately. And if you think that their lies are so sad and so pathetic, I want to see a "so sad" in the comments. Just drop that below. So sad. So the fourth lie that they often tell is I promise. I promise I'll do better. I promise that I will be the most amazing spouse, husband, wife, business partner, mother, father, sister, brother, neighbor, whatever it is. Nobody is going to be better than me. I'm the best at whatever it is. So I promise that the way things are going to be are the most amazing things in the world. And again, this is a form of future faking. And it's basically a future that they know they're never going to make good on. They're never going to follow through with these promises. And they just want to say whatever they want to say just to get you to do what they want you to do at that moment, or feel the way they want you to feel right at that moment, which is that they're wonderful, you're the one who has the problem, or that, you know, however, whatever it is that you have a problem with them right now about, it's not going to be that way in the future. So just like, you know, get off of it. Let's just deflect it, deny it, move on. So I promise. That's the fourth lie that you often hear from a narcissist. And the last common lie that you often hear from a narcissist is, it's not my fault. I didn't do it. Or if I did, it was because somebody else had a problem. Somebody else didn't follow through on what they were supposed to do. It's your fault. You know, I could have done it except for you getting in my way. But for whatever reason, it's not their fault.
So now I teach people how to negotiate, and specifically how to negotiate with high conflict personalities, difficult people, narcissists. That's what I teach people how to do. And that's why my channel has blown up so much. I tell people that 80% of a negotiation is won before you walk into a room. And that 50% of it is your mindset. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, I don't agree with you. I think 95% of it's mindset. I think success is 5% strategy, 95% mindset. There's a woman I coach, Catherine Weishaupt. She lives in Germany, very bright lady. And for one of the first coaching meetings I was in with her, Gina, my assistant, was there taking notes, and I was talking to her, and she said, I think success is 5% strategy, 95% mindset. Woo. But intuitively, I knew she was right. In my mind, that went back to when I started. I didn't know how to spell strategy. I didn't know what strategizing even meant. I had a picture of going and building a city, building a business in Atlanta. I flew in one night at 5 o'clock. I was with my brother. I phoned a real estate agent. I had this whole picture. And I said, would you spend tomorrow with me if I rented an office from you, about 5,000 square feet and a long lease? He said, sure. He said, what do you want me to do? I said, I'll meet you in the morning. I said, I just want you to drive me around. On the plane, I wrote down, go to the Better Business Bureau. I went, put an ad in the paper for people. I rented an office. I rented furniture. I got the phone. I had everything done. I flew out of there the next night at 5 o'clock. 2 weeks later, we were in business in Atlanta. I just had a picture. I didn't understand strategy. It's the image. The image is everything. You keep thinking about that, Rebecca. 5% strategy, 95% mindset. And I do agree with you. I think it's won or lost before you even enter the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about
It's attitude. Attitude.
attitude for sure. I have a word for you that rhymes with attitude that I want you to talk about, which is gratitude. Where does that fall into all of this?
Well, that is chapter 7 in Wallace Waddell's book, The Science of Getting Rich. I talked about Sandy Gallagher, my partner. She teaches us better than anybody I know. Gratitude, Waddell said, he said there's the entire process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. Do you know what that means? If you're disturbed with anything, something's bothering you, or there's something really disturbing you, if you sit down and write out what you're grateful for, you got to be sincere. You're really grateful. Your world changes.
Yeah, because now you're in receiving mode, right?
Well, you're not only in receiving mode, you've connected to your source of supply. When you're in a state of gratitude, you're connected to your source of supply. Gratitude is an attitude that will fix anything. Anything. Every morning, I sit down and I write out 10 things I'm grateful for. First thing I do.
And why is it important that you write it instead of just say it?
Well, writing causes thinking. Thinking creates an image. The image stirs the emotion. The emotion sets up the vibration. Writing is very important. If you have something you want to do, a new habit you want to form, write it out in the present tense. I'm so happy and grateful now that I wake up feeling wonderful with a smile on my face every morning. Write that out 100 times every day for a month. I guarantee you're going to wake up with a smile on your face feeling wonderful every morning. The writing programs the mind. It's a way of reprogramming, changing the paradigm. The paradigm is what controls your life.
Totally. And so for people who are listening to this, because this is a lot of my community, they feel paralyzed right now. They feel powerless. They feel traumatized, beat up, used and abused. Where would you have them start? Like, give them.
I would have them start by, first of all, understanding that there is someone that can help them. And that someone is Rebecca Zung. You can help them. You know you can help them. They've got to believe you can help them. Then they've got to do exactly what you tell them. And where they should start is where Ray got me to start. Sit down, write what you want on a card in the present tense, and read it as often as possible every day, what you want.
And ask big. Don't say, I'll just take.
Oh, yeah. Listen, there's no limit. We're God's highest form of creation. We got a marvelous mind. First of all, we want to understand nothing's big and nothing's small. When we really understand that, we'll start raising the bar.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when they come to me for individualized coaching, and I now coach people in business and, all over the world, literally all over the world. And I have people who will come to me and they'll start off with, I don't want a lot. I just want this. If I could just have this, it would be okay.
I would say, listen, if you're going to work with me, I want you to want a lot.
Exactly.
I want you to want a lot, always more. And if you don't want it, give it to somebody that needs it. But I want you to be a wonderful recipient of plenty, of abundance. I want you to see yourself as a person that attracts abundance. And you spread it everywhere you go. You're going to be just the distributor of great good. So if you're going to work with me, I want you to want a lot. Quit settling. There's no settling in my world.
Because the universe is very responsive. It's going to give you exactly what you ask for. So if if you say, I only want this, then that's what you're going to manifest.
That is because the universe is totally deductive. The universe can only accept. Your subconscious mind is your universal mind. It can only accept. It can't change anything. And if you're thinking sad thoughts and you're turning them over to your subconscious, that's exactly where you're going to be. You got to see yourself with the life you want, living the way you want, being who you want. That's how you're building your business, Rebecca, and that's how they can build theirs.
Yeah, their business or their personal lives, or getting out and starting a new life, getting out and divorcing a narcissist or whoever it is, whether it's a business partner or a romantic partner or whatever, wherever you are is the jumping off point right now.
Yep.
Right?
You're right.
So where can people learn about you, your teachings, your courses, and all the great stuff that you have access to?
You can go to proctorgallagher.com or go to bobproctor.com. Just go Bob Proctor, you'll find me. We're all over the place. I mean, we're literally all over the world. Our company operates in 90 different countries. We have consultants that work with us, coaches, consultants, and they're in 90 different countries. We're all over the world.
So let's talk about whether or not you should stay in this relationship or you should go. It's always a hard question. And as an attorney who practiced in the area of divorce for a very long time, I can tell you that that was a question that was sometimes asked of me by clients. And I would always tell them the same thing, unless they were in an abusive situation. Obviously, if you are being physically abused, you should definitely get out. But barring that, I would always say, listen, I'm here to facilitate if that's what you decide to do. If you decide you want to stay with this person, then, you know, that's a choice that you have to make on your own. But I do like to give some kind of indications. And what I'm going to give you here are some indications that you can look for whether you're in a relationship with a narcissist in a business setting, or whether you are in a relationship with a narcissist in a romantic setting. It's really the same. And the very first red flag, the very first sign that you should probably get out of this relationship is, how do you feel inside? How is this relationship making you feel? What's your gut feeling? You know, I knew when I was in a relationship with a couple of narcissists, thank God, not in a romantic setting, but close enough that they targeted me, victimized me, traumatized me, and it was absolutely horrible. And so I do know how they can make you feel. And if you feel like they're literally sucking the life out of you, literally like your soul can't breathe, then that's time. You know, absolutely, you need to start thinking about, how am I going to get out of this relationship? What are the steps that I need to take? Because when you are in that situation, it's not sustainable. You know that eventually you're going to just go crazy. So, and if you are getting ready to think about divorcing a narcissist, you should check out my video on things that you should do to prepare to divorce a narcissist. And we'll make sure to drop a link to that below as well. But if you are in this relationship and you just are constantly feeling awful, then you know it's definitely time to go. Another sign it's time to go is that you're just not trusting the person. You're constantly wondering, what are they doing? Who are they talking to? Who's on their phone? What text messages are going back and forth? Where are they? You know, if it's in a business setting, are you trusting that they are doing what they're supposed to do in the business? Are you trusting that they're doing the work that they're supposed to do? Are you trusting that the quality of work is the way it's supposed to be? Are you trusting that the money situation is copacetic? You know, are they collecting money and putting it directly into the account, or do you think that they might be skimming some? Are you trusting that they're not talking about you behind your back to, you know, maybe employees or clients or people in the community or other people that you're dealing with in your business? Are you trusting that they have your back? Are you trusting that they're not plotting and planning to do things against you or away from you? You know, and so if you don't feel like you're trusting this person, then that's definitely another sign. And if you think that it is time to go, give me an "I'm getting out" in the comments. Right. Another sign that it may be time to go from this relationship is that you feel completely isolated. You feel like there's no one else to talk to, that no one else understands what you're dealing with, or maybe that the world is against you because the narcissist in your life has made you believe that everybody else is on their side and it's only you. And, you know, they'll even say things like, you're the only one that thinks this way, or everybody else thinks that I'm amazing. And if you want to know more about what narcissists say, then definitely check out my video called Narcissist Favorite Sayings, because those are the kinds of things that they say to make you feel isolated, make you feel alone, make you feel like the world is against you and no one else is going to be around. And if you try to get out of this relationship, you're going to be the one who looks bad. It's not going to go well for you. And so if you're feeling like that, like you're feeling isolated and alone and powerless and paralyzed, it's definitely time to start taking those steps to get out of that relationship. And it's not always easy. You know, sometimes you have trauma bonding. Sometimes you have, you know, there's a lot of psychological damage that has gone on. So don't beat yourself up over it if you're not ready right now at this moment. Just start taking little baby steps, even just to take care of yourself. You know, go to a therapist, go talk to a clergy person. If you want more help, you can go to online help. I have a partnership with BetterHelp, and they are online therapists, and you can definitely check them out at the link below as well. And it's totally confidential, and you can choose whatever therapist you want, so you can definitely check them out. You know, whatever you need to do to just start feeling strong enough to be able to take the steps. You know, don't judge yourself if you're not ready to take the steps right at this moment. Just do little things to help you start to heal enough that you feel strong enough to be able to do it. Okay, so that's another thing that is a sign that it's time to go, is that you are completely isolated and feeling traumatized and crazy. Another sign of that it's time for you to get out of this relationship is that you're starting to think about other relationships, or you're starting to think about getting out. Maybe you're starting to think about cheating. Maybe you're starting to fantasize what it would be like to get out of this relationship. You know, you're starting to think about, you know, well, if I got out of this relationship, how would it look? What would I do? Would I, you know, want to buy this other partner out? Or would I, you know, file for divorce? And if I file for divorce, where am I going to live? And you're starting to think about this process. I mean, just the fact that you're here, that you're watching this video, tells me that you're already starting the process of wondering if it's time, wondering if a better life is out there. And I can tell you, as a person who has dealt with a couple of narcissists in my own life and has helped thousands of people, either through my divorce practice or I have a strategic coaching practice where I help people literally all over the world, and through my SLAY programs, which have helped thousands of people at this point, I can tell you 100% of the people who have gotten out of those relationships are so glad that they did it. They 100% feel better. And I can tell you that it does get better, and there is help and there is support for you, so you can get out if that's what you decide that you want to do.
Okay, so if you haven't watched Dr. Foster yet, this is your warning that there will be spoilers here. So if you want to go watch it first and then come back, then you can definitely do that, but consider this your spoiler warning. Okay, so the show is really fascinating because it takes this woman who seems to have like this incredible life, Dr. Foster. It's set in England. She lives in this cute little town outside of London, and she's got her medical practice. She's got a husband. She's got a 13-year-old son. She's got a beautiful home, and life seems to be perfect for her. Her husband comes back from being away on a trip, you know, some sort of a work trip, apparently. He gets home late at night. He jumps on top of her. They seem to have this great physical relationship too. In the morning, they're getting ready for their days. And
all of a sudden she sees something fall out of his pocket, and it's a woman's lip balm. And he just brushes it off and says, "Oh, it was the only kind they had. I needed something for my lips, and that's the only one that the store had." And she's like, "Okay, I guess, you know." So then the next thing that happens is she uses his scarf the next day or that day to go to work. And she gets to work and she goes in her office and she goes to hang up the scarf, and there's a long blonde hair on the scarf. And she starts to get suspicious about, what's that about, right? So she then goes into this obsessive, like, I need to know, I need to find out. I think he might be cheating. And he's, of course, gaslighting her. "Oh, you're crazy. And that's not me. And you're really, losing it," and all this other stuff every time she tries to say something. And by the way, one of the things that narcissists do is they engage in what I call the 3 deadly sins of marriage, which are the 3 A's: abuse, addiction, and adultery. And if you want to know more about the 3 deadly sins of marriage, definitely check out my video on that topic. But, here he is, like, engaging in one of these 3 deadly sins, right? And also, by the way, here's where you see in this movie where some of these flying monkeys are lining up with him and actually even helping him. One of her medical partners actually sends a text and warns him that she's, like, left work early and probably going to follow him. And so he, like, gets that warning and goes to visit his mother at the nursing home instead. And it's kind of crazy how all this starts happening to her, right? And even these flying monkeys, people that she trusted, people that she even, like, confided in, she finds out are part of this whole thing. And so, what happens with the flying monkeys is they actually start, um, adding more trauma to you. And if you want to know more about that, check out my video on Operation Triangulation. I talk more all about that. But that's what happens. So anyway, she finds out that her husband is actually having an affair with this 22-year-old. And in the movie, or in the show, they actually show that she threw a 40th birthday party for him. So we know that this girl that he's having an affair with is roughly half his age, which is, the guy is like such a typical narcissist in so many ways. I mean, here he is. He's got to have all of that external supply. He's got the doctor wife, the perfect family. He wants to maintain that facade. He's got this big deal going. And by the way, we find out that the big deal that he's got going for his work is actually being funded by the father of this girl that he's having an affair with. And the father doesn't know that this guy's sleeping with his daughter. So she finds out, Dr. Foster finds out, because the girl comes to her office, that she's actually pregnant with her husband's child. It ends up to be a girl. But it's so crazy how she just becomes unglued with this whole thing. And that's what happens. Like, they make you crazy and they make you unglued. And then what happens is they turn around and use that against you and say, "Hey, you're crazy." But they forget about the fact that they made you that way, right? And so anyway, they end up having this massive showdown at the house at the end of the season 1. He smashes her head against the window. There ends up being a restraining order against him. He leaves town. The next season opens up with it's been 2 years. She's been living there with her son. All is well. He decides to move back to the town with his now young wife and their now 2-year-old daughter. And it just drives Dr. Foster crazy because it doesn't seem like there's been any bad things with him. Like, there he is, like, living in this beautiful, big, massive house. And he's got this fantastic job. And she's like, "Where's this money coming from? And how is he getting all of this?" So she actually goes to the house where he's about to move into and starts looking around like, "Can't believe this," right? And he sees her there and starts goading her and taunting her again. And he does all the things that narcissists do. He hoovers, he gaslights,
He has his flying monkeys there. It's just on and on. Like it's like very, very classically narcissistic. And by the way, no remorse. He blames her for the fact that he had to leave town. He blames her for the fact that there was an injunction against him. I mean, all of it is her fault. Like no remorse whatsoever, no guilt. And it just drives her crazy. So here's the thing that I want you to know. They end up like one-upping each other, scorched earth, what we call it scorched earth litigation or scorched earth tactics, where they're just constantly, you did something, I want to win, I'm not going to let you win, I'm not going to let you win. And they get into this mud. And what happens is they really end up causing a lot of drama, trauma, and chaos, not just for themselves, but more importantly for their son, who is stuck in the middle of these two crazy people who are just trying to do whatever they can to destroy each other. And my message to you with this is stay out of the mud. I mean, he goaded her and she took the bait and then she looked crazy. And this is what happens when you are in negotiations, and especially when you lose control in negotiations. Don't fall for that. Don't do that. Don't get down into the mud. Instead, be strategic. You can create leverage. You can expose them using your leverage.
A lot of times you're not necessarily noticing it right away. But first of all, you start off thinking this person is perfect. Whether it's a business relationship or a personal relationship, I dealt with a narcissist in a business situation personally. And, my husband and I have had to deal with narcissists in our family as well. And, regardless of the type of narcissist, whether it's a covert narcissist or an overt narcissist, it's the same kind of thing. They start off amazing. They start off like, oh my gosh, this is like the most perfect, amazing person in the world. And they make you feel like you're the most incredible human being they've ever met. Like, wow, the stars have aligned. And then they start this hot and cold thing. And that's where the game playing starts. That's the very first thing that you start to notice, this hot and cold, this ghosting. And, where did they go? That's the first sign, really, a lot of the time. Now all of a sudden you're needy or something like that. You can't get them to text you back, or they're super passive aggressive. You can't get them to do the things that you asked them to do or they promised that they would do. If it's a business relationship, or you're finding out that there's gaps in their stories or there's lying and they've got some kind of explanation about it, there's red flags that are showing up. And, you start to see that they're making promises that they have no intention of fulfilling. And then a lot of times, you start to see them, they come like all the way up as close to your breaking point as possible. Like you're just about to the edge of you can't take it anymore. And then back to love bombing again, back to future faking, back to it's all going to be better, back to you'll see, oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing, back to, if it's a romantic situation, flowers, or I'm so sorry, or crying and desperate to keep you, or whatever it is. And, if it's a business relationship, all of a sudden they start doing the things they were supposed to do or whatever it is, because they know like you're maybe about to leave or something, so there's this hot and cold, this up and down, all the way to your breaking point where you feel like there's no way you can stay another day. And then they're good again. And then back to this thing. So you start to see that all the time. And in negotiations, you kind of see that where you think you have a deal and all of a sudden you don't have a deal anymore. Now they add something else or they take away something. And now it's constantly what I say, moving the goalposts. By the way, I have a whole video on why narcissists move goalposts, which you should definitely check out. Why do narcissists move goalposts constantly? Definitely check out that video. In that same vein, similar vein, they never resolve issues in the relationship. You have this constant circular conversation. You're trying to resolve an issue and they never resolve the issue. That's another game that they play. You sit there and you try to have a conversation with them about something. And let's say you try to talk to them about maybe something that they did or didn't do. And it's, why are you bringing this up now? Oh, I don't like your tone of voice. Oh, everybody can hear you right now. I'm really tired. Why are you talking about that? Oh, do this first. Before you get to that, let's talk about this. And you never get to talking about what you wanted to talk about. Well, you interrupted me. So you never get to talking about what you wanted to talk about, ever. There's never any resolution to problems in the relationship. And another thing is way that they play games is that they just never give you what it is that you want in the relationship. They'll say that they're going to give you what you want. You'll see that it's going to be better. And from now on, I'm going to always do this, that, or the other thing. It could be the simplest thing, if you're married to the person, from now on, I'm going to be doing the laundry every single week or whatever it is. And then they just never do it. And, well, this week I had that, and this week I had this, and it just never happens. And why are you always on my back? Whatever it is, it just never happens. By the way, if you are seeing what I'm seeing and you totally are resonating with this so far, give me a totally in the comments. Just write totally in the comments. So those are the, some of the game playing that they do so far, and then a lot of times it's just that they'll just raise their voice. You're trying to talk to them. And the more you try to talk to them about something, they'll just raise their voice or they'll use hand gestures. They might even get physical with you because they just don't want to hear what you have to say. Or maybe they'll just walk away because they don't want to hear what you have to say. Maybe they just won't even text you back. Maybe they'll just completely ghost you because they don't want to hear what you have to say. So that's another way that they will game play you. They're just completely manipulating you constantly. So, they're toying with your feelings. It's just hot and cold constantly. You don't ever get what you want. They get what they want because they're constantly controlling you, game playing with you, and you just constantly feel used, abused, emotionally racked, and everything is your fault. Everything is, put on you. You're constantly being made to feel guilty. You're the one who's irresponsible, lazy, the problem in the relationship, and everything's always turned back on you. And, that's the way they manipulate. That's the way they game play. So, those are just some of the things. Those are just some of the ways that narcissists gameplay in relationships, romantic, business, personal. They act the same, whether it's covert, overt, doesn't matter. They act like that in any, and when they are negotiating, it's the same thing, only it's even more heightened. And that's why I specialize in this, because you cannot negotiate with a narcissist in a regular, reasonable person way. The regular rules of negotiation just simply do not work with narcissists. Once someone is finally out of a relationship and they're still dealing with the emotional trauma, it takes a while to get over this. What can they do? I know you offer something called Sir Thriver on your website.
maybe you could share with the listeners a little bit about that.
Sure. So there's a lot of things that survivors have to learn about themselves to understand why they were a victim, why they didn't see it. And a lot of that peeling back of the onion and the layers are work that they have to do. So a lot of times it's that they just didn't simply know what a boundary was. Or that they didn't know that they were a people-pleasing person, which is an asset that a narcissist will hone right in on. Oh, goody, someone's going to do my laundry for me. So you have to learn those skills. But so often when you've been through this whirlwind of crazy, you end up with PTSD. And sadly, most doctors don't even can identify that. If you go to the doctor while you're going through a horrific divorce, you're thrown on antidepressants, you're thrown on anti-anxiety, you can't sleep, you're thrown on sleeping pills. That's what a doctor would say. Most therapists, I think there's a number out there of in the high 60% don't even know what a narcissistic personality disorder person or relationship looks like. So make sure you're getting really good counseling. Make sure they understand what your plight is and how you can recover, because talk therapy is one thing, but getting into those memories and kind of helping deal with the anger, because you're going to have grief, you're going to have anger, you're going to have fear. Middle-aged people like myself going through a divorce, what am I going to do now? Everyone has those fears. So we did design this Surthriver recovery course to help people move past that anger and to take that memory out and almost detach the emotional attachment to even that day in court, that horrible day that you can remember. If you're holding on to that anger, you're holding on to their memory, and they stay attached to you. They're baggage in your backpack, walking along into the next relationship with you. And so you have to cut that tie to that emotional bound. And also, we have another course which is based on forgiveness. And forgiveness, I think, is the wrong word here. It's, again, releasing them from your memory, releasing that pain that gets triggered every time you go by that restaurant that he proposed at, or you have these triggers that come. There's a way of getting rid of those. And we have an NLP course on there that is extremely powerful.